Roger Stone here. Your dollars are losing ground, but gold isn't. American Sovereign Bullion helps you protect your wealth through real, tangible assets. Through their nationwide wholesaler network, you get some of the best pricing on gold and silver delivered straight to your door. Since 1912, the U.S. dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power. Meanwhile, gold continues to prove its strength. So call 844-272-2428. That's 844-272-2428. Or visit dyingdollar.com to request your free gold and silver guide. That's dyingdollar.com.
This is what everyone's talking about.
Everything's on the table.
This is what champions come to take. This is what everyone came to see.
And the slam!
No do-overs. No second chances. No more Mr. Nice Guy. This is winner take all. The NBA Finals continue on ABC and the ESPN app.
Let the Record Show with Judge Richard Weinberg, Suffolk County Republican Committee Chairman Jesse Garcia, and essayist and commentator Eric Lavine on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to Let the Record Show with Chairman Jesse Garcia of the Republican Party. Jesse is the Vice Chair of the New York State Republican Party, as well as being the Suffolk County Chair for the party on Long Island. With us is our good friend, co-host, esteemed colleague, noted attorney, commentator, essayist Eric Lavine, and I am Judge Richard Weinberg. So, gentlemen, every day my eyes bleed, my head explodes, because I see...
It's a very messy studio.
It's a very messy studio. I bring all of that baggage into me every week. And every week, Eric says to me, just wait, everything is going to work out fine. Trump knows exactly what he's doing. So I respectfully submit, Trump does not know what he's doing. This Iran war and these negotiations are dangerous. Time is on the side of the Iranians, not the Americans. Any deal made, you can't trust. They're building themselves up again. They're resupplying. They're remilitarizing. They're feeding the terrorist network. They know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to run out the clock as close to the midterm elections so that even if they have a so-called deal, and how you're going to inspect for that deal and verify that deal, it can blow up weeks before the November election, and then Trump is holding the bag and he looks weak. So why is this so important? Because if this happens, not only is the world at risk, but his majority in both the House and the Senate are at risk. And if he loses both those houses, what happens? He's going to be a lame duck president. And that's very, very bad for America. That's very, very bad for Western civilization. So I say to you, Mr. Trump, understand this. You cannot trust the Iranians. You cannot scream and shout and curse at Netanyahu for defending his own country. Because when he defends Israel, he's defending Western civilization. Israel is just the first prong to be knocked over by the Iranians in a conquest of Western civilization. Europe is next, and then comes the United States. We're surrounded by Islamists in our own country, let alone from the Middle East and in Europe. This is dangerous stuff. In the House, they just passed with 4 Republican votes the War Powers Resolution, making the president having to go back to get authorization to continue his war efforts.
Nothing.
It's not nothing, respectfully, because it's symbolic of the fight he has, and it gives aid and comfort to Iran, who sees a splintering in this country during this war effort. So it's not nothing. It's very, very serious, because they're getting reinforced that their game is right. They think they're winning. Why do they think they're winning? Several things are going on at the same time. You have the Iran war. They're getting nowhere fast. On Cass and Cosby the other night, we had General Keane. General Keane says, give another 30 days, and if you don't have a real deal with all our terms and conditions that we want, then we should start hitting them militarily. Then he said, maybe we should just start hitting them militarily now. I'm with General Keane. We should be hitting them now. That's the only thing they understand. The strong horse, not weakness. Israel, Hezbollah, when Trump says to Netanyahu, you're screwing up my peace negotiations. Well, tell the Israelis in the northern part of Israel, when they're being hit by thousands of drones and ballistic missiles, that it's okay and 300 people are wounded, some have died. This is serious business. You can't tell a nation state don't defend yourself. That's what Israel was doing. Third point, Gaza, Hamas. Hamas has consolidated its power, is nowhere close to disarming. This is a serious problem. They're a perpetual threat. And always remember, whether you're talking about Hezbollah or the Houthis or Hamas, they are all tools, instrumentalities of Iran. They are controlled by Iran. Who controls Iran these days? The Revolutionary Guard. This is serious business. So I'm very unhappy about this. I think Trump is negotiating against himself, and I wish he wouldn't, because up to this point, he was doing okay and recognized the existential threat to Western civilization, and he's negotiating against himself, and the perils are enormous. Eric.
Well, I 100% agree. You can't make a deal with this regime. There's no substitute for regime change. And when I've been supportive of the president, and I think that and I've argued that he has it well in hand and he's doing a great job. That's why we were kinetic. That's why we were systematically destroying the military, the IRGC, the higher echelons of their government. As we were doing that, we were winning the war. There was no question we were winning war. And we have eliminated their Navy, we have eliminated their Air Force, and we have eliminated their launchers, a majority of the launchers to be able to launch ballistic missiles. Their economy is in complete tatters. The inflation rate is unbelievable. But when we were on the door of victory, and we stopped. It's like being on the 1 yard line with a few seconds to go in the game. And
Go for it.
And score, win the game. Win the game instead of calling timeout and taking a break. Win the game. So I think he got spooked. The president got spooked by the price of oil, the oil prices, and his concern for the midterm elections. But I will make this observation, and Richard, I agree with you 100% on this. If you think the price of oil is high now, just let Iran win. And when I say let Iran win, I mean just
if they survive.
Allow
they
this
win
regime,
if they survive.
Exactly. Allow this regime to survive. Because if you make a deal with the Iranians, two things are for sure. They are not giving up their nuclear program no matter what anybody says. Not conceivable. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, if you make a deal with them now and they open the Strait of Hormuz tomorrow, come October, they're just going to close it again because they have been persuaded that the president doesn't want to take any military action. But here's the even, and then the price of oil will go through the roof just on the eve of the midterms. And then Republicans will be completely wiped out. But here's the other thing to keep in mind. The Iranians, can they be able to project power abroad? Can they be able to arm Hamas? Can they arm Hezbollah? That's another thing that they've been significantly weakened by. But all the more reason why Hezbollah and what's going on in Iran, going on in Lebanon, must be completely decoupled from what's going on with our negotiations with Iran. This notion that the president gets mad at Bibi Netanyahu because Netanyahu's defending Israeli civilians and says, because you're interfering with my negotiations with Iran, you know what? Then your negotiations with Iran are meaningless. Then they're absolutely meaningless, because if the Iranians can dictate to you, Mr. President, their terms about the basis on which they will negotiate with you,
you lose.
You lose. They are dictating to you terms. If we can't be dictating terms to the Iranians, there's something wrong with this picture. So they must be completely decoupled. This idea, the Israelis are on the cusp of wiping out large segments of Hezbollah inside Beirut, and the president stopped Netanyahu from doing this. Now, let's keep in mind, people keep saying, oh, there's a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. No, there isn't. The president is imposing a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. That means a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. The Lebanese want Hezbollah out. The Lebanese government and the Lebanese military are cheering for the Israelis to destroy Hezbollah. Let's remember about Lebanon when it was originally created in the 1940s. When it was originally created by the British and the French after the First World War, it was lopped off from Greater Syria and was created to be a Christian state. And it was,
how's that working out?
yeah, exactly. So to this day, there must be a Christian president. Today's Christian president is Joseph Aoun. There must be a Sunni prime minister. Today's prime minister, Nawaf Salam. And there must be a Shiite speaker of the parliament, and that's Nabi Berri. Now, the Christian president and the Maronite Christians are all for destroying Hezbollah. The Sunni prime minister and the Sunni Arabs and Sunni Lebanese are all for destroying Hezbollah. But you have the Shiite speaker, Nabi Berri, who's Shiite, who wants to maximize his power. So he maximizes his power by supporting Hezbollah and Iranians who are Shiite. So he's the only one really in the government that's supporting them. But the rest of the Lebanese people, they want Israel out. I mean, no. they want Hezbollah out. So what the president is doing, he's not stopping. He's not helping the Lebanese. He's hurting the Lebanese. He's not helping the Israelis. He's hurting the Israelis. The only ones he's helping is Iran. So we have to be dictating this. If we're not in a position of dictating, then we're losing. Now, Richard, so I think we're in agreement. If last time we were on the show, the last couple of times on the show, I was trying to wonder what the president's strategy is. Now, maybe his strategy is if we keep the Straits of Hormuz closed and you keep the blockade in place, over time the Iranian economy will just completely explode and the regime will just cave in on itself. That's a legitimate strategy.
I agree.
But you have to two things. You have to explain that to the American people, and it takes time. It's not going to happen probably before the midterms. It takes time. So you have to prepare the American people. But he's not talking to the American people. He's not telling us that that's his strategy. So I agree with General Kane as well. We've got to get kinetic. The only way you're going to get the Iranians to do anything is under pressure. And this government is prepared to allow all 90 million of their population to die before they'll give up power. So you have to forcibly remove the regime. And I continue to believe that we have to be arming and preparing and identifying indigenous Iranians who are prepared to rise up and lead a popular revolt against the regime. And a final point, Richard, about Hamas. Right now, remember, Israel's only a country of 8-9 million people. They don't have the ability to fight 3, 4, 5 front wars. They have to focus. So right now they're focused on Hezbollah in Lebanon. When that's done, then they're going to return their attention to Gaza. Right now, the Israelis control roughly 60% of Gaza. Soon they're going to control, given what they're doing now, roughly 70% of Gaza. But eventually they're going to have to wipe the whole thing out. But the long and the short of it is, there's no negotiating with these people. But Mr. President, if you are negotiating with them, you need to tell the American people exactly what it is you want to achieve, because at the beginning of this process, it was unconditional surrender.
And regime change.
Well, that would be regime change, but it was unconditional surrender. They're turning over the nuclear dust to us, the elimination of their ballistic missile program. Where are we? But I think we would be in a lot better place, Mr. President, if you talked more frequently to the American people directly to tell them exactly what your thoughts are and exactly what it is you want to achieve. Because frankly, I'm watching this really carefully, and I don't know what you're doing.
Jesse.
Let me take the last one first. Number one, when this airs on Sunday morning, let's not forget that New York Knicks will be going for Game 2 in their finals to hopefully try and win their first championship since 1973. So let's give them props on that as well. They were outstanding, winning Game 1 by 10 points on, I think it was Wednesday night earlier this week. But to your point, first, let's take the last one first. I think the one thing that this president has demonstrated is that he is unpredictable. And while I believe in transparency, and I believe that everyone should know what's going on in their government, I do believe that this president has demonstrated that he's not going to negotiate in public. He will say certain things. He will use language, sometimes blunt language, sometimes rarely vague language, to convey where he is to the person he's negotiating across the table with. That's my first instinct here. We've always said that the president will not accept, and so far he has not. We know that last week we discussed that there were two different factions and two different plays at play in the Trump administration. There was a group of individuals who were saying we need to go kinetic, we need to continue to move forward, and there was another group of advisors and people that the president depends upon, such as the vice president, said maybe we should cut a deal. He has yet to go on either side. I do also believe that his 2-hour meeting in the Situation Room, while I believe that was about these negotiations, I also think that if you're going to be in the Situation Room, you're not just speaking about negotiations with a regime you cannot trust, and I agree with you on that. But it's also the chess playing at a 3- and 4-dimensional level of what happens if we do this, what happens if we do that. I trusted the president so far, even though he's pressured by midterms, by politics, by members of his own party, by world leaders to accept a deal so that we can end this war. But he has yet to do that. And I don't believe he is going to do that until those basic tenets of what he announced to the American people as the reasons for going into Iran are attained. Certainly, it's first and foremost, as we said, it's their military, it's their nuclear capabilities and seeking nuclear weapons, it's their ballistic missile systems. Secondarily from that, it was and is the regime change that needs to take place in that country. You know, as a politician, I wish that this is done in a far quicker manner, but I also understand when you're dealing with stakes this high, that we're not going to know everything that is going to be discussed in and around different rooms, like the Situation Room or between envoys. We also don't know if 1 or 2 other incidents are for theater or for messages to our allies who have been a little bit slow in assisting in the Strait of Hormuz, even though they receive the majority of the crude oil there and the product through that strait. So I think that, again, we're dealing with multi-levels here, multi-facets here. I don't think we're privy, nor should we be, because you cannot negotiate effectively in public. As we understand, there was a ceasefire at 1 hour, and then 30 minutes later, Midnight Hammer occurred. There was a ceasefire in place, and then all of a sudden the Iran war took place. This is an unpredictable president who does it, I believe, with a plan. He does not want his adversaries to know where he's coming from, where he's going to go, or how he's going to go about and do it.
Eisenhower didn't have to tell us where they were going to land on D-Day because they don't want to tip our hand, but they also were very clear about what the goals of the war were. All I'm asking is that the president be clear about what the goals are and what we're trying to achieve. I don't want to know the strategy because on that you're 100% right.
Okay, we all agree, and we have to agree with Elias, who's saying that we have to take a break.
Boo, Elias. Yay, Elias.
No, yay, Elias. Yay, Elias. This is Let the Record Show with Chairman Jesse Garcia of the Republican Party, noted attorney, commentator, essayist Eric Lavine. I'm Judge Richard Weinberg. We'll be back in but a few moments. Please stay with us for more important and interesting conversation.
Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball.
This week, come out to the ballpark as the Ferry Hawks welcome in the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars at Staten Island University Hospital Community Park for a homestand on June 10th for a 5-game series as the Ferry Hawks welcome in the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars. Individual game tickets start at just $12.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. The Four Seasons is back for Season 2, starring Tina Fey, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, Marco Calvani, Carrie Kenny Silver, and Erica Henningsen. After a difficult year, your favorite group of friends continues their tradition of vacationing together, now with a baby in tow. From the Jersey Shore to upstate New York and Italy, their getaways are sure to take unexpected turns where comedy ensues. Watch The Four Seasons, now streaming only on Netflix.
I wrote a little song to remind you, Choice Hotels get you more of the experiences you value. The Cambria Hotel's got it all. A rooftop bar, have a ball. Cocktails up here feel just right. Is Cambria amazing? All right. Bring a date, your team, or even your mom. Book direct at choicehotels.com. See you on the roof.
Let the Record Show with Judge Richard Weinberg, Suffolk County Republican Committee Chairman Jesse Garcia, and essayist and commentator Eric Lavine on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to Let the Record Show with Chairman Jesse Garcia of the Republican Party. Jesse is the Vice Chair of the New York State Party, as well as the County Chair of the Suffolk Party. With us is our good friend, co-host Eric Lavine, noted attorney, commentator, essayist. I'm Judge Richard Weinberg. I'm going to begin this segment by talking. There are two topics I want to talk about in this segment. One is Trump's civil war in the Republican Party, and the second one is the Democratic Party's attack against America. Start off with the civil war in the Republican Party. I think Trump is made, and this is not me being down on Donald Trump today, because I'm with him 70% of the time. I try to give him constructive comments, not that he listens to me, but or even knows I exist. But the fact of the matter is, I try to get the noise out there, so maybe he'll listen to this. I don't think it's a good idea when you have tough competition from the Democratic Party that you divide your own party. I don't think it's a good idea when you go into midterms, and historically, the party that controls the White House loses seats in both the House and the Senate. I think he made a terrible mistake not backing Senator Cornyn. Cornyn lost the primary, which I think is just heartbreaking because Cornyn was a very decent man, very good senator, and he's with Trump over 90% of the time. Maybe not quick enough for Donald Trump's desires, but he was there. He lost a good senator in North Carolina who got so annoyed that he didn't run for re-election.
Tom Tillis.
Tom Tillis. That's a big mistake. Joni Ernst. Joni Ernst was a great senator. I don't know why she left.
She wanted to spend time. Literally, she wanted to spend time with the grandchildren.
Okay, but the point is, so there are seats open that they have to fight to hold on to in the midterms. So going after
Ashley Hinson will do just fine in Iowa.
What?
Ashley Hinson will do just fine in
Ashley,
Iowa.
listen, I'm a big fan.
Yes. She's terrific.
She is terrific. She's just wonderful. I love Ashley Hinson. She sat in the studio with us when we did a number of months ago with Katz and Cosby. I think she's great. I hope she wins that seat.
She'll win.
I'm concerned about the seats in Alaska, which is Dan Sullivan, another terrific person. I'm concerned about Senator Hurstad in Ohio. I'm certainly concerned about Susan Collins in Maine. So I'm saying that he should have been rallying around the incumbents and having limitations on primary fights, particularly against incumbents, and he should not be waging these battles.
He supports Husted and Sullivan. He's been way out there. He's been out there for that.
Okay, but he drove Tillis out of the Senate, and he certainly drove Cornyn out of the Senate. And that was, I think, in my humble opinion, that's a mistake. Now, when I said on the break, I said that we'll talk about this. I call it Trump's civil war in the Republican Party. Our good friend Jesse responded, "There is no civil war. Trump won." So, Jesse and I said, well, if they won, where's the burning of Atlanta? I'm seeing it. So I turn it over to you, Jesse. I want to know what's going on in the Republican Party. Should I be concerned that the Democrats will win either of those houses, whether it's the House of Representatives or the Senate, and render Trump ineffective or lame duck in the last 2 years of his second term?
Well, first let me answer about the Civil War. There is no Civil War. Before June 2nd and 3rd, President Trump was 118-0 in his primary endorsed candidates, winning various primaries, 101 U.S. House primaries, 9 U.S. Senate primaries, 8 gubernatorial primaries. His one candidate that lost was in Iowa, Randy Feenstra. He lost in that gubernatorial race. So right now he's 118-1, excuse me. So honestly, the president, who has traditionally on either party has been and will always remain the leader of their respective political parties. He has a firm grip on this party. I believe that he has a vision for this party, and for the most part, everyone's in tune and in lockstep with that. I'm not really sure the Texas situation with Senator Cronin. I know that Senator Cronin, as a member of leadership, has been with the president about 90+% of the time in that state as a voting record. So I really don't understand where that is. But let's not forget, the midterms are going to be the midterms, and they are going to be difficult no matter what. I believe that what we need sometimes is some fresh perspectives. Remember, when there was a series of newly elected officials in 2010, in 2014, in 2022, a fresh new perspective of Republicans came forward, and that's always good. We need to balance the experience of our elected officials and fresh new ideas from the grassroots. And that's one thing I've always believed in. So when you think about a state like Texas, a Republican powerhouse, that even being outspent, incumbents there being challenged at difficult times have seen a strong result in their elections. And certainly on a national level, you and Eric, can speak more to that. But when the question comes down to, you're going to have tough midterms no matter what. You mentioned Senator Susan Collins, who is actually backed by the president and in fact is waging a very aggressive campaign against her Democratic opponent that not only has had sexual text messages back and forth while married, not only has a Nazi-related tattoo on his chest, has said some awful things about the American military and the U.S. Army. But I think the real question to that case, and about Democrats, especially about the congressman who just won in New Jersey, that on the Democratic side in his 12th congressional district of New Jersey, who has ties to the blind sheik who masterminded the 9/11 attack on the United States. The more the question is, who's in charge of the Democrats, and why aren't the Democrats calling out these type of candidates, those that sit with terrorists that attacked our country, those who sit and promulgate Nazis by putting related tattoos on their chests and degrading our American military? Where are they calling out their candidates, calling for new candidates to replace them in these issues? The Democrats are far more flawed than the ones that are across the nation here.
I couldn't agree.
I think the real
I couldn't agree with you more.
Measure here.
I couldn't agree.
The true measure here is that while we may agree or disagree of who the president has endorsed, and he's 118-1, but the real problem here is the Democrats who are allowing these type of individuals, those with ties to the attacks on the World Trade Centers, the Pentagon, and the United States of America.
Right, 1993. Remember, we were attacked twice.
The first Trade Center attack.
Twice. 1993 and 2001. Right. I apologize. Thank you for correcting me.
Let the record show. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you're talking about Graham Plattner in Maine. This is one sick. This is one sick puppy, and you have Democrats coming out in droves to support him: Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren,
and don't forget Chuckle Schumer.
What you got? Chucky.
I thought it was feckless Chuck Schumer.
This guy he's going to have a lot to answer for when the day comes.
Afterlife.
He has a capo mentality. I mean, he really does. He's disgusting. But let's remember who Graham Plattner is. Jesse, you missed so many things. I mean, he has this SS tattoo, and so his explanation for having it is, I didn't realize it. So his excuse is, I'm an imbecile. That's his excuse.
It's affirmative defense.
Affirmative defense. I'm an imbecile. So he's an avowed communist.
He went from being a Nazi to a communist. Yeah, well, so it shows real mental stability. Okay.
Well, I mean, there's really not. I mean, if you look at history, remember, Nazis means National Socialist, right? So there's not much of a difference between a National Socialist and a socialist. Hitler and Stalin, there could have been no Second World War had Hitler and Stalin not signed a non-aggression pact before Hitler invaded Poland. It's only because Hitler reneged on the pact and attacked the Soviet Union that Stalin got into the war. So there's really, yes, but he probably is the only person on earth who was simultaneously a Nazi and a communist. Quite an achievement. You're quite right. He is engaged in a lot of sexting while married, and it was his wife who disclosed it. But of course, his wife is now defending him, saying it's okay because let's focus on the issues that really matter. Well, what are the issues that really matter? So he's bad-mouthing the military. He's taking American heroes and war heroes, and saying they should. Some of them who should have died. Some of them who are alive should have died. Some of them who are died.
The winner of the Purple Heart.
He's making stuff up. He's bragging about that he's been self-pleasuring himself in porta toilets, and one of his recent ads about Susan Collins is that people shouldn't vote for Susan Collins because she's owned by Benjamin Netanyahu
and the Jews.
And the Jews. All these anti-Semitic tropes. So, Jesse, your observation of that there's no candidate too extreme in the Democratic Party for these people to rally around is 100% right. We have it here in New York. Zoran Mamdani has endorsed a candidate in a congressional race against Esplanade. Yeah. Now, his crime is that he's one of the few remaining Democrats who supports Israel and takes money from AIPAC.
And know what she's famous for saying? I hate America.
No.
America's evil.
She didn't say I hate America. She said America is effing disgusting. That's what she said. If you're going to quote someone, Richard, at least quote them correctly. I mean, really now.
Let the record show. But and she probably is going to win. She is probably going to win. And she's also on the record as saying that Israel, not only does Israel not have a right to exist, she's on the record saying Israel does not exist. So she's already written that epitaph. So you really have to wonder with these extraordinarily radical Democrats, how far left can they go? I mean, even in our own state, just now, or I think yesterday, the New York State Legislature passed a law that says that you can no longer refer to mothers and fathers as mother and fathers. Mother is a gestating parent, and a father is a non-gestating parent. You can't make this up. Does that mean they're going to arrest me when I say father and mother?
Apparently. I mean...
So when Father's Day comes up, am I allowed to get a non-gestating card? Can I get a non-gestating card?
There is no such thing as Father's Day. It is now non-gestating parent day.
Jesse, I want my card now before the bill comes.
No, it's passed. The bill's passed.
Before they sign it,
she hasn't signed
I
it
had a kid in part because I wanted to get a Father's Day card.
Yeah, I don't know what Hallmark is going to do. They're going to have to recall all these cards. Right now I'm just hoping to spend my non-gestating parent day. I'm hoping to get a gender-neutral trans tie and get some ice cream. I'm not even sure I could say ice cream because
what's wrong with ice cream?
Because it cancels and disrespects the crucial role that milk and milk givers give in the ice cream making process. So I really think it should be churned excretions from gestating bovines. But I'm not even sure I can call it a bovine because the PETA people would probably be upset if we use the term bovine. So I think we have to refer to it as churned excretions from a gestating cud chewing four-legged mammal. Wait a
minute. Who knew that my wife and my mother had four legs? I missed that.
No, but they don't use their milk to make the ice cream unless there's something going on in your house, Richard, that I'm not aware of. But I'm assuming that this milk is coming from a cow, a cud chewing four-legged mammal. And can we say vanilla and chocolate, or is that racist? So maybe we should use the terms melanin privileged.
What about the chocolate and vanilla cookie?
Well, yeah, exactly. So I think it's melanin privileged or melanin oppressed cookie. It's easier to, I guess it's just to say you want a swirl. So just to recount of where we are.
I want a swirl.
You want a swirl?
I want a swirl. So
just to recount on where we are on non-gestating parent day, I'm looking forward to relaxing on non-gestating parent day, hoping I will get a gender-neutral trans tie and have a swirl of melanin-privileged and melanin-oppressed churned excretions from a gestating, cud-chewing, four-legged mammal. There you go. Makes perfect sense to me.
Well, so Jesse, let's be clear. The Democratic Party truly has lost their minds.
Crazy.
They have lost their minds. They have no sense of what's important. They're absolutely out of their minds. We're facing existential threats. We have fifth columnists in our own country. Thanks to Democrats.
That's without a doubt.
But let me make a serious observation about this.
I thought this was serious.
Yeah, about as serious as it can be. But let me make a serious observation about this. I think this is all part and parcel of just the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, who have now infiltrated the dead carcass of the Democratic Party. is an ongoing effort to try to destroy the nuclear family or traditional nuclear family. And just it's a way to separate parents from their children, and it's a way to deprive parents from the responsibility of raising their children and turning children over to the state. That's really what I think this is part and parcel of. That's the serious part of this.
God, is that awful? I mean, we're living through an Orwellian nightmare. For all those listeners who haven't read 1984, buy the Cliff Notes, buy the Monarch Review Notes if you don't have the patience to read the book.
1984 and Animal Farm, the two most important books of the 20th century. Read those.
Oh, and don't forget Brave New World by
and Aldous Huxley. Yes.
Right. So I have to tell you something.
Then tell us. Then tell us. You sound speechless.
I am speechless because I've gone through all these decades of life being an optimist, and I wake up, and just when I think it can't get any crazier or more dangerous for this beloved country and for Western civilization, these idiots who have the future of our country at stake are talking about this nonsense. When will the Democratic Party resolve to get rid of these idiots? And it all started, by the way, with Hillary Clinton allowing the Democratic National Committee and the convention, because they were so afraid of Bernie Sanders and his crazy radical socialism, to run against Hillary, that they allowed him, somebody who was never a member of the Democratic Party, to run in the primaries, the conventions, and the caucuses, because they wanted to show how, quote, liberal and open-minded they were. So they empowered him, and they opened up the Democratic Party to this attack. And if you know anything about the efforts of Saul Alinsky, that Chicago communist, about community organizing, they're doing exactly that. DSA is a community organizing effort. They get these kids who know nothing. They know nothing about history, about economics, about public policy. They know nothing about how the world works. They get themselves elected to city councils and county boards and state legislatures and even the Congress, and then they mandate all these rules, all these laws, which are detrimental to the effective functioning of society, whether it's energy independence, whether it's quality of life, whether it's freedom of speech, thought, association. That's who's in control of the Democratic Party. God help us. This is Let the Record Show with Chairman Jesse Garcia, noted attorney, commentator, and essayist Eric Lavine, and I'm a very distressed Judge Richard Weinberg. We'll be back in a moment with the final segment of this week's show. Please stay tuned for more interesting and important conversation.
Whether it's a movie night or just midday, Skinny Pop is a salty snack that keeps on giving. Made with just 3 simple ingredients for an irresistibly delicious taste and a large serving size that lasts. Deliciously popped, perfectly salted. Skinny Pop, popular for a reason. Shop Skinny Pop now.
This episode is brought to you by Starbucks.
That is fire.
Whoa, that's good.
This might be the drink of the summer.
Okay, I like this one too. I'm rocking with it. Okay.
Try it for yourself. Starbucks Refreshers Concentrates are coming home. Find them in the coffee aisle and make it yours.
Faraday presenta Ojos con Alergia y Picazón contra el jardinero. Y el ganador es Faraday Extra Fuerte. Para aliviar la picazón de los ojos por alergia, actúa más rápido y supera a Claritin y Flonase aún a las 24 horas. Faraday, adelante.
Hey, I like your new RAV4.
Thanks, yours too.
What does RAV stand for anyway?
To me, it's the Remarkably Advanced Vehicle.
Really? To me, it's the Runway Approved Vehicle for its amazing style.
What about Remarkably Adaptable Vehicle because of its versatile cargo space?
Or Really Admired Vehicle?
Oh, or Really Awesome Vehicle.
It really is the Recreational Activity Vehicle. The stylish 2026 Toyota RAV4 Limited. What's your RAV4?
Let the Record Show with Judge Richard Weinberg,
Suffolk County Republican Committee Chairman Jesse Garcia,
and essayist and commentator Eric Lavine on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to Let the Record Show with Chairman Jesse Garcia, the Republican attorney, commentator, essayist Eric Lavine. I'm Judge Richard Weinberg. So, Jesse, we're talking about the craziness that's going on and the importance of the electoral process in saving our country. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to make one point, and then we were up against a hard break. But what you were saying, that the Democrats have opened up their party and their party apparatuses and their primaries to these far left socialists and DSAs of the world, and now by opening that up, they're being led and eaten up from the inside. But what you said is that we need to win at the local level, and I have to. That's something I stress. At the grassroots level is where we can stop these socialists, these far-left progressives, the AOCs of the world, the Zohar Mandamis of the world. We can stop them by winning at the local elections and the importance of local elections. Because as I've always said to our constituencies here in Suffolk County, if we had beaten a far liberal Democrat, Steve Israel, in the Huntington Town Council race in the 1990s, he never would have ascended to become a congressman for a short period of time in Suffolk County, and in that time would not have ascended to the position of chairman of the DCCC, which is the Democratic entity that wages campaigns against Republicans and such, to replace our priorities with that of the far left and the socialists. So it's important that our listeners understand, we want to stop these individuals. We want to stop the DSAs. We want to stop the far left socialists from gaining any traction at the state or federal level. It's at your local level. We have to win those elections. That's how important our local elections are.
And that's exactly right, Jesse. And what's very troubling is that the political fix that went in with Hochul and the leaders of the Assembly and the Senate controlled by the Democrats, trying to put all the local elections in even number of years.
In one way, yep.
Because that's a way of disenfranchising the people who have more moderate or conservative views who will vote Republican in the so-called off-year elections, because now everything's consolidated.
So, Jesse, what you're describing in many ways is what the very successful strategy of George Soros was. Soros, when he started pouring his hundreds of millions and billions of dollars into the political process, he understood it doesn't make sense to pour all that money into starting at the presidential level, governors and senators. He understood that when he was starting this, that there was no way you were going to get radical lefties that are going to win those races. So what he started doing is quite effectively was start electing people at district attorneys, town boards, mayors, school boards. And as these people would then rise up and then start running for bigger and larger offices and more important offices. And this is now we are now witnessing the fruits of his labors. We're getting some of the craziest people, most extreme people that started at the grassroots level. And I think it makes your point that it is critically important. We can't just be focused on the presidency and just Senate and the governorships.
Even the House.
We have to be focused on the real local level. You want to change what kids are learning in schools? You want to stop them being taught to hate America? You want them to stop being taught diversity, equity, inclusion, that unconstitutional, anti-Semitic, and racist garbage? You need to elect board members, people to your local school boards who are going to stop it. You got to have administrators that are going to stop it, and that's exactly right. I think your point is very well taken.
So let's go across the pond, as the Brits would say. Let's go to the United Kingdom. There's a terrible story out there, which is really heartbreaking.
This is unbelievable.
So it's heartbreaking, and it shows you that this is not just about words. This is about conduct, mindsets that lead to not only violence, but to ratification of violence. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this young
We
man.
often wonder that.
Now you're starting to sound like my wife and daughters. Okay. So what happens? The kid's in the street. He gets involved in some sort of dispute with another individual. The other individual is from a minority. The
Sikh. He was a Sikh.
And
he was an 18-year-old white kid just walking down the street and comes into contact with a Sikh.
And the Sikh is carrying a so-called ceremonial dagger. And they get into this confrontation, and
which is legal for him to carry, but illegal because it's a religious symbol, right. But illegal for other Brits to carry.
Right. So what happens? They get into this dispute, and the Sikh stabs this kid, and the kid is bleeding out. The cops arrive. The bobbies arrive. They arrest the kid who's bleeding out, handcuffs. The kid says, "I'm bleeding. I've been stabbed. I can't breathe."
But they did it because the Sikh said to the police, "He called me a racist name. I had to defend myself." So and that's all they needed to hear. And now they arrest the kid who's bleeding to death.
and they didn't get a medical attention until it was too late. The kid was bleeding out, and one cop said, he said, "I've been stabbed." He says, "I don't think so." Just disregarded it, and the kid bled out right there on the streets.
You know what his final words were?
Go ahead.
"I can't breathe."
Yeah, imagine that.
I can't breathe.
You know what? And if I could just interject for a moment, Your Honor, this is not just secondhand accounts or not a result of maybe the media. This is footage from the body cam of the police officer.
Yeah, these are all proven.
So
these are all
it's
undisputed
impeccable.
facts.
I mean, it's imperial. It's impeccable.
Yeah. So it's awful. It's awful. So there's a price to be paid for political correctness, for wokeism. And let me give you, on this side of the pond, every day you pick up the newspapers in our major metropolitan areas, and you hear about another act of senseless violence, random stranger attack, people being stabbed on subways, people being stabbed on trains, people being thrown in front of subway cars, people constantly under attack, random violence. They don't even know they're attackers. These are not about grievances or fights. It's just people walking around the streets of the great metropolises, and they're attacking their fellow human beings and destroying them. And when they destroy those people's lives, they destroy their families' lives as well. And a large number of the perpetrators of these crimes fall into two big categories: illegal migrants who shouldn't be here in the first place, with long records of violence and disruptive behavior, or criminal class of our own, many of whom have mental illness. So it's a failure of the system. If there's mental illness and there's violence, these people should be put away in institutions where they can get care, and at the very least, preempt violent attacks against their fellow human beings. And with respect to the situation with illegal migrants, look what's going on in New Jersey, Jesse and Eric, at the ICE facility. What's going on is all the Democratic politicians, including the so-called moderate governor, endorsing demonstrations, violence, attacks. ICE agents, local police have been bitten, have been spit upon, have been attacked.
And none of them are local.
Right.
All these people are bussed in.
90% of them are bussed in and are funded, and they have the uniforms, and they have their gear. They're coming in to
they have military
gear.
Military level goggles.
This is insane. What is wrong with us? And this all comes out of a culture that the Democrats have endorsed. They wrap themselves in the First Amendment, freedom of protest. There is no freedom of speech, of assembly, of demonstration to have insurrection, to aid and abet criminal conduct, to try to undermine the federal immigration laws. Eric.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not that much to say about that. You're 100% right. And, Kathy Hochul has made New York State a sanctuary state. In fact, she's gone even further. She's made it illegal for local law enforcement to cooperate in any way, shape, or form with ICE.
And all law enforcement has to wear a mask, including the feds.
And she's saying that ICE is not allowed to wear masks. Now, I think that's unconstitutional. I don't think a state can tell a federal agency how to operate and to carry out their law enforcement mandate, which is mandated by Congress. Now, I think it'd be a great idea, and Jesse maybe want to communicate this to Bruce Blakeman. I think Mr. Blakeman should get together with a whole host of other county executives and announce that they will not follow state law. They will follow federal law. And it's going to be up to Kathy Hochul to sue these counties to enforce this unconstitutional law and challenge Kathy Hochul to go to the courts and have the courts say this is constitutional. I don't believe it is, and I think Bruce Blakeman would do himself a lot of good if he made clear that he was going to that his priority was the safety and protection of New Yorkers over Kathy Hochul, whose first priority is radical, crazy lefties whose votes she wants in November.
Jesse.
Yeah, first let's just go to the unfortunate situation in London. What we've seen there is the ultimate case of political correctness over common sense. It's a failure to prioritize the victim. It's a two-tier policing concerns over there. And we spoke about Britain's knife crime crisis, which is growing there in London and in Europe for religious reasons. If there's ever an example of why we need the Second Amendment, maybe it's what just transpired in London. You can't have a gun, you can't have a knife in London, you can't protect yourself in London. The police won't protect you if someone makes an allegation, even though you're bleeding out in front of them. We have a new face for the phrase "can't breathe" here. Yet there are those in this country who want to remove that right from us to protect ourselves and our families. As we see what's going on here, I agree with you. You know what? If it works for the Democrats for them not to follow the law, then maybe it's time for Republicans to do the same thing. We are the party of law and order. We are the party of law.
No, but they would be following federal law. They would be following federal law.
Kathy Hochul, you want to double down on this? Let's go. Let's not forget that the same group of clowns in Albany that now say in part of their law that federal officers can't wear masks so they don't get doxxed and their families are not to be victimized or to be violently assaulted. They're the same ones that would send you to prison if you did not wear a mask just a few years ago, or the same ones that would mandate that you had to get a shot and maybe go to prison or be fined for those reasons. This is where the left and the Kathy Hochul, she is captured completely. Every organizational and institutional Democrat, whether it be locally here in Long Island, throughout the state of New York, or even throughout the country, is captured by this far left group. They want to protect wokeness and they want to protect their little bastion and corner of the world so that they can continue to profiteer off the people, to ride influence for themselves. And of course, and I do believe it's corruption and greed at that level.
I mean, you also have people.
You know what? Let's not also forget that we forget people's names, and I don't want to disparage this young lady, this 23-year-old who lost her life in the same manner almost. So I'm going to try and pronounce it. She's a Ukrainian woman that was killed
on the train.
On the train.
Yeah.
Zarutska. Someone who there's a Ukraine-Russian war going on, and she was less safe here in the United States because of these radical policies on crime.
And don't forget, Jesse, what the Democrats and state legislature are trying to push now, that to have a mandate that at 55, a prisoner has an absolute right to have a parole hearing, and then if it's not granted at 55, every year or every 2 years thereafter, in perpetuity, they have to have another hearing, which means...
So think about that for our listeners, if I could. And our great district attorney, Ray Tierney from Suffolk County, articulated this in an outstanding op-ed piece. That means that the Gilgo killer, who admitted to killing 7 women and probably is a suspect in others, is already 62 and could already seek parole every year on his crimes based on what the Democrat laws. That means anybody that's an elder in MS-13, a drug dealer, anywhere, a DWI, someone who committed murder, knowingly going after families.
A contract killer. Somebody makes money by killing their fellow human being.
I mean,
Absolutely.
And we're surprised by this. Look, we have Alvin Bragg, who prosecutes bodega owners who are exercising their right to self-defense. He arrests them.
Exactly.
And
what about the Marine? The poor Marine is defending the other people on the subway.
David Penny.
Yes. And remember, this is all brought to us by the same people that are now calling us gestating parents and non-gestating parents.
Yeah, exactly.
This is how we got here.
Well, but the question becomes, Jesse, we're here now. How do we get out of this nightmare of wokeness and this dangerousness?
Well, I think the president was leading that charge and still continues to lead that charge. He tapped into what the true feelings of what President Nixon said, the silent majority. The people, there are more common sense individuals out there in our country that know that this is wrong, and they've been voting that way, which is why, in turn, you've seen Democrats in Albany try to change the rules of the game, whether it be through now mid-decade redistricting, whether it be unchecked mail-in ballots, moving elections to even from odd local elections to even years. They continuously change the rules of the game for their desire for power, speed, influence, and self-profiteering off the people. And the only way we can do that is at the ballot box and by what we've been doing. Republicans and common sense New Yorkers and Americans have been taking these these failed policies, these unconstitutional policies, to court and making sure that they're righted and taken off our books before they can truly make a negative impact on our families.
Look, people can make the argument that both sides are guilty of the gerrymandering. It's a legitimate argument, and I can see it both ways. But there is absolutely no excuse other than we want to cheat to not require a photo ID to vote.
Absolutely.
It makes
correct.
Absolutely.
That should be step number one, absolutely required. You need one to get on a plane. You need one for a driver's license. You need one to buy beer. This idea that anybody who maybe can cheat and try and show up and vote, and maybe multiple times, is insane. We need electoral integrity, and that is the first step.
Okay, I want to give a final thought before we sign off. Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch is now in a major lawsuit against the state of California because they have 800,000 people on the voting rolls who are not qualified to be there. And the fact is that gives them an enormous reservoir of people whose names they can take, whose identity they can seize, to vote illegally to fix elections against us. If you don't have voter integrity, you have no faith in the system. So God bless Tom Fitton and Judicial Watch for waging that fight. He's doing all across the country, and the big fight now is on California. And 800,000 people who should not be on the voting rolls, who are a potential resource for political corruption, electoral process, are there waiting to be picked. This is dangerous, and Fitton is making that fight for the American people. God bless Tom Fitton. This has been Let the Record Show with Chairman Jesse Garcia, noted attorney, commentary, essayist Eric Lavine. I'm Judge Richard Weinberg. Once again, we want to thank you for joining us. God bless you. God bless your families. And, of course, God bless America. Look forward to being with you again next week on Let the Record Show. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to Let the Record Show with Judge Weinberg, Chairman Jesse Garcia, and Eric Lavine. You can hear Let the Record Show Sunday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Listen to this podcast now
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.